Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The long range meta right now clearly has some standout options, like maybe one specific marksman rifle, but it also has some other decent options across the board. And today we're breaking down the entirety of the long range meta here in Warzone after the most recent meta update. So yeah, there's a marksman. I hear it's pretty good. I hear it's been pretty good for some time. People call it the Kar 98K, and yeah, even though it was kind of nerfed a little bit with Season 4 Reloaded, thing is still nuts. If you're looking for a sniper for long range, even though the one-shot range max is like 76 meters now, that's still pretty good and gonna be able to, you know, cover the vast majority of fights you're taking, right? Setup here, for me at least, not really changing all that much, even despite the nerf. You just gotta focus on getting the best range and velocity you can. And we've got a trio of attachments that'll do that. So Sonic Suppressor L gives you better range and better velocity. The 7.62 long barrel gives you better range and better velocity. Then high grain rounds is gonna do more of the same. So you get a 925 velo. That's going to be great for a general hit scan range, but then also 75.6 meter one-shot range to the head. That's phenomenal as well. And then it just comes down to preference, really. Use whatever scope you're comfortable with. I like the Aintless AS7S. Other players like the scopes that give you the faster reload, like the OG range collar and stuff like that. There are other scopes that work well too. Really just use whatever you're the most comfortable with. And then I like no stock on here too for the max mobility. Just makes this way more aggressive as a sniper. You get a quick ADS, really good movement speed, strafe speed. I love the overall feel of that. So yeah, the Kar is very well into the long range meta right now, and it's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. It's not the only viable sniper slash marksman style gun though. The Mors is also capable of one-shotting at any range in the game if you're using the anti-material slug rounds. So obviously this is a part of the long range meta as well. So as mentioned, those anti-material slugs, you want to be using those. Unfortunately, these do hurt your velo a lot. This velo is the worst out of all the main meta snipers, so you have to pay more attention to that bullet drop and that bullet lead when you are aiming for those one-shot knocks. So definitely, I would say like the highest skill gap of the three snipers that are in the meta right now, foreshadowing a bit, but it's still decent enough that you can use this, especially a little bit more aggressively. I've also got the Ton Heavy Barrel on here, better velocity outright, you love to see that. Razor Hawk Laser Sight for the better ADS speed, just making it a tad bit more aggressive. Super Light 90 stock is going to do that as well. Also gives you a crazy strafe speed for a sniper. And then just behind the face cam there, in case you're looking for a screenshot, I got the quick bolt so I can get my shots off faster, back to back to back. Pretty standard setup for the Mors, but it's still working just fine. And that previous foreshadowing has come to fruition because the next sniper that we've got on the list in the long range meta is of course the Cat. This is like the best infinite one-shot sniper in the game. It can one-shot at 50 meters or 350 meters if you're hitting shots like that, as long as you're getting that headshot. Has decent velocity, and that's really all you got to focus on with this setup, is getting that velocity to the best possible number. So 941 will be sufficient with the trio of attachments we've got here too, that being the Nightfall Suppressor, the Zang 34 barrel, and of course high velocity on here too to get that best velocity stat. Damage range does not matter here since it's an infinite one-shot. I also got the tac pad stock on here for just a little bit faster ADS, 756. There's several things you can do in that amount of time. You know, cook a meal for the family, walk the dog, change the goldfish tank out, you know, doing whatever you need to do. You'll be ADS by the time you're done with all that, and you'll be able to get that one-shot knock, so this helps speed that up a little bit. And then we got the quick bolt on there too for the faster shots back to back to back. So similar setup to the Mors. Obviously though, those are two snipers capable of one-shotting wherever, whereas the Kar is limited. Now moving away from some of the snipers, we have several other fully auto weapons that are in the long range meta right now, including the BP 50, one of my personal favorites. Its damage per mag is not incredible out at 50, 60, 70 meters, but if you're landing shots, this thing has one of the best TTKs in the game in the mid to long range, and it's also ridiculously easy to use, especially with this setup on here. Casus Break makes this weapon an absolute laser beam. Its recoil is super predictable, so easy in fact that I just use the DR6 hand stop here. I don't use Bruen heavy support or angled or anything like that. I go for mobility here because this weapon is going to be that simple and that straightforward even at those longer distances. Lore 9 heavy barrel, better range, velocity, and control as well, making the gun more efficient in the long range. Mode 40 stock is some better control and some better mobility too, so this is one of the most aggressive long range options we've got in the game. Then I close that out with the 45 round extended mag. Pretty basic there, but yeah, this thing hasn't changed in some time, and honestly I'm kind of happy for that because as mentioned, I love this thing. The MTZ 556 is another super fun option here. Low recoil, really competitive TTK throughout, bit more of a standard setup here all things considered. We got the Spirit Fire Suppressor. Drifter heavy long barrel is going to help out with range, velocity, control, and idle sway, and it does really good benefits to the range and the velo there for some reason. Bruen heavy support, keeping things consistent with the horizontal control, the firing aim stability, the idle sway, and whatnot. 50 round extended mag, mag and the 2.5 times Eagle Eye optic on there. Like I said, very standard setup, but this thing is so consistent that you can really mess around with a lot of different builds, and they're all going to be good. Also, really nice to see the MCW or the ACR in the conversation here, truly in the most competitive form it's been in to date. And this is also another ridiculously low recoil, easy to use weapon, and that's actually why I've kind of messed around a little bit with the choke angled grip. It ends up speeding up your strafe speed and your general movement speed, helps out with horizontal control, and just adds in a bit of vertical. That's a viable option. If you want the most laser beam-esque version of this gun, you could use Bruen Heavy support as well, but this thing's very versatile in the fact that it's straightforward enough that you can use several different attachments to attack various areas, control or mobility, based on how you want the gun to feel. Spirit Fire Suppressor per usual here. The Cyclone Barrel is just range and velocity, but a gun is so easy that that's not a huge deal that we don't get added control there. 2.5 times the Eagle Eye, and of course the 60 round drum on there to close things out for this one. And by the way, as we are breaking down all the weapons here today, if you are new to the channel, every single day I got you covered with news, updates, patch notes, meta breakdowns. It's all right here, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. And if you enjoy this video or if you find it helpful at all, do me a favor and drop a like. It's always really appreciated. Of course, the Holger 26 has the argument for being the best overall ranged weapon in the game. This thing is low recoil, has one of the best TTKs out of all the weapons currently available. It's just checking every box that it needs to be in the long range meta and be one of the best overall meta weapons in the game. Spirit Fire Suppressor on here as well. We got the Factory Barrel, which is range, velocity, and control. Unfortunately, no added idle sway or aiming stability, but it is what it is. Bruen Heavy support, yet again, another mainstay there. 2.5 times Eagle Eye once more. Then I also love the Ascent Lord stock. Helps out with control, idle sway, and firing aim stability. So what we're missing on the barrel, we can kind of make up for here, and it's already so easy that this really, again, turns this into a laser beam style weapon. Very predictable recoil pattern, so you're gonna fry with this thing. Another LMG that sort of made its way back into the meta is the Pilomyot 762 conversion. This was the best gun in the game for a while back at launch, and then it got nerfed pretty hard. Now it's been buffed a little bit, other weapons have been nerfed, and the general TTK actually favors a low recoil weapon like this that you can land the majority of your shots with, as opposed to maybe some higher skill gap guns that might be crazy good on paper, but in actual execution aren't that great. This thing is going to be very reliable for really any skill level player. So we do have that Annihilator Bullpup kit on there to make this thing a little bit easier to use, also just more aggressive as well. Recoil reduction pad stock on there, 2.5 times Eagle Eye. The Annihilator long barrel that is unlocked by using the conversion kit, and then also Spirit Fire Suppressor. What a surprise. Jumping back into the rifles, the SVA in Hyperburst mode, the no recoil meta right now. This thing is still great for the long range as well, especially because it's so easy to use in terms of control. The real only skill gap here is being able to spam it and have a fast trigger finger. So if that fits your criteria, if you can spam your controller or your mouse, this thing's going to be a laser as well. And this setup is sort of optimized because it doesn't have any recoil. You can use the sonic suppressor and really optimize that range and that velocity a little bit more for a great hit scan range. Precision barrel for better range, velocity, control, and idle sway. High grain to make the velocity and range even better. Basic extended mag here, then 2.5 times yet again. Hey everyone, real quick, just want to shout out my friends over at G Fuel. It's heating up outside. We've got COD updates dropping almost every single week. We've got Black Ops 6 on the horizon. So whatever you might be looking for from G Fuel, they've got you covered. Hydration tubs to make sure that if you're going out and about in your daily life, you are hydrated, you're good to go there. If you're sitting down grinding some games, leveling up weapons, whatever the case may be, they got the energy tubs, they got the cans, tons of different flavors, so a little bit of something for everyone there. If you're ever interested in picking up anything at all from the G Fuel site, be sure to throw in code IMMORTAL at checkout and it'll get you a nice little discount. The link for that will be down in the description below. Holger 556 also caught some nice buffs recently, so this thing is also statistically better than ever. Low recoil. The only thing it's lacking here is a slightly larger magazine. 40 being the max is a bit limiting and the reload is pretty slow, so that's the only real drawback. But outside of that, this thing's another laser with a great TTK. So I go for the glassless optic in this case just to change things up a little bit. This is always a great alternative. Of course, optics are always preference based though. We got the Cryo 6 match barrel, which helps out with range, velocity, and control. We got Spirit Fire, and then just because this gun in particular is so easy, instead of the Bruen Heavy, I go for the angled. This doesn't slow you down with your ADS or anything, and just gives you some solid horizontal control and some aiming idle sway. So a little bit like a mini version or the light version of the Bruen Heavy support, if you will. But yeah, Holger 556 really rising up in rank as of late. I think think it's safe to say the SOA Subverter is also still in the meta for long range. It's not nearly as good as it was once back in the day, right? But this thing's TTK is still very competitive, and it's also one of the easier guns to use in the game, particularly from the battle rifle category in specific. And I really love the iron sight build we've got here. Cast a spray compensator to help sort of attack that S-curve recoil pattern that it's got. Dozer 90 long barrel also helps out with that control and the firing aim stability and adds in some decent velocity and range. Bruin heavy for more of that horizontal control, extra important in this case. 50 round Cinemag, and then clean iron sights, so we're able to add in that Motion V2 heavy stock, which helps out even more with some general control there. If you're comfortable with how the gun feels, you could drop that and throw on high grain. That'd be a good alternative too. But yeah, the Subverter, it's kind of back and it's fun to see again. And then lastly here, I've got the Wrap. We've talked about this thing a lot. You guys know I love this gun because its TTK is technically the best in class for the LMGs. It is obnoxious to use because it's an MW2 gun, but if you just focus on the damage stats, it's a really cool gun here, and it can hold its own in the long range meta. So 2.5 times Eagle Eye, and then everything else I want to use is MW3 based because the MW2 attachments on this thing suck. So 100 round Cinemag, so I don't have to reload as often with the painfully slow reload. High grain rounds for the better velocity and range on there. Ruin heavy support, and then also Castus Break to make that recoil a lot more stable and a lot more accurate there. Even though it is an MW2 gun, don't sleep on it because this thing will melt. Quite frankly, all these options are phenomenal here. I like that we got a lot of choices outside of obviously the car being so good. Definitely a fun long range meta if you're looking for some variety across the board. There's some good parity going on, but that is going to wrap things up for this video. If you enjoyed, do me a favor and drop a like, and if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.